Happy Monday. Happy day. I hope everyone's doing well. It's good to be here. It's good to see you all here. I see a bunch of people here in chat. I see Kieran Ball. I see Bjorn Jorgensen. I see Jim Largo. I see Gojatron. I see Keith Knight. What's up, mate? I don't see anybody. I also see Mr. Jesse Hughes, the Epic Badger. It's good to see everybody. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day, beginning of their week, had a good weekend, everything in between. So, well, sitting here today, I was like, what am I going to talk about today? Because I had a bunch of different ideas. And I happened to be looking at my my bingo bear. I just happened to see him. And I'm like, there's other things in that line. And I look over at my Care Bear, and I'm like, there's other Care Bears out there. And I was thinking to myself, well, I don't have any desire to get the rest of these, but I have tons of stuff that I want to get, because the next thing I looked at was my He-Man and Skeletor Origins figures, and I said, well, I want all those. And I was like, well, let's explore that. Let's explore what it means to want to complete something. So that's what we're talking about today. So get your juices flowing. I see World Made of Cardboard. Nice to see you. Drive safely. Master Son, yo! Back at you, pal. Good to see you. Good to see you. Everybody says, don't wish me a happy Monday. You're not my dad. Also, happy Monday to you too. Thank you. Thank you. You're not my father either, sir. And y'all don't get a hat today. You just get a ponytail and me talking. Gojatron says, completionism affects many toy collectors, but there is hope. Call 1-800 I don't need all this shit and talk to a trained counselor today. Yes, it can certainly be some form of addiction to a certain degree, I suppose. But what drives it? You know, like, why some things everything and why other things not? So I will start by treading well-worn territory with Superpowers collection. Now, granted, I'm also going to have examples from other types of collecting. So if you're in the audience and you're watching and you're not a toy collector, there's stuff here for you too. But I'll start with my Superpowers collection toys. When I first started out, before I do that, you know, someone just told me that recently. I wasn't aware of that. They said under every ponytail's an asshole. I mean, you have one, and I have one. Are we both assholes? I don't know. Maybe. Could be. Could totally be the case. But, so, with Superpowers collection, when I first started collecting, I said, I gotta have that first series. At least. The whole thing. And I got it, and then I realized, well, I did have some Series 2 stuff. I at least want the stuff that I had, but I also really want the stuff I didn't have as well in Series 2 for Superpowers collection. So I got those, and then people start asking, are you going to get the Series 3? And I'm like, no, I'm not. I keep saying I'm not going to. I keep looking at them, and every time I look at them, I just can't justify it, man. I only had one, maybe two figures from Series 3. They weren't my favorites. I don't think they fit in well with the rest of the series. I just don't feel a connection to them. And I feel completely justified in hanging on to my Series 1 and 2, getting some adjacent stuff, like some of the Toy Biz stuff, some of the Dark Knight Collection stuff to kind of round it out and do that sort of a thing with it. So I figure, like, that's okay for me. But I know for a lot of people, they don't just want Series 1, 2, and 3. They want the variants from South America and Europe, and they want all the different card backs, because there's like 7 different card backs for certain figures and stuff like that. And they just And that's just one toy line. I don't understand that. I don't. Because if you look at a toy line like Motu Origins, okay, and I've said in various places I want retail complete, and I have reserved the right to add whatever I want to it. And so far, I'm retail complete, waiting on some pre-orders, but isn't that just the way it always is? But I don't have any desire to get like European variants or other market variants. I just want what I want. The only variants I've even gotten in the line would be the vintage sculpt He-Man and Skeletor, which I technically already had the parts for with other versions of the figures, but I wanted those, and I also wanted the PowerCon, fan exclusive Triclops, which I was happily gifted from Suze, which I'm very happy to have. But all in all, it's not. I'm not looking for every single thing, right? It's just not my thing at all. So it's interesting to me that there's a certain way that one can go with all of these things. So I'm gonna catch up with chat here because I know you guys are already doing some good stuff here. Ian Sweeney says, I am helped considerably in my unhealthy brush with completionism by the almost total absence of spare funds. It helps. Like, we laugh about it, but if you have a budget, which I do, there's only so much that you're going to want. And if money were no object whatsoever and space were no object whatsoever, I might get Series 3 from the Superpowers collection. I might. But even then, it's like, I can spend that on better stuff, personally. Nice to see Ted Milich. Bjorn Jorgensen says, I'm no completionist. I'm a cherry picker. There you go. Daniel Dorian, hello. I saw that, Pete. I saw that you bought a Series 1 Brainiac on Saturday, and he looks minty. He looks good, especially for a loose version of that figure, because he's very easy to discolor, very easy to beat up. So a little jealous of the condition of yours, that's for sure. But it's awesome. I'm glad you got him. Johnny Sorensen says, I put my coffee mug on top of last night's chewing gum, and now it's everywhere. Genius at work. Oh, horrible. Los super amigos. Yes, that's the whole thing. Someone offered to sell me a Riddler from that line at a decent price. And they're like, I'll do payment plans, the whole thing. I'm like, no. Because if I go down that road, heaven help me. It's like, oh. It's tempting for sure. This brings up an excellent point. Johnny Sorensen says, I rotate from one compulsion to another, whether that's games, books, toys, movie, media, etc. Exactly. And for Bjorn, to follow up on his earlier point, being complete for them means when you're done cherry picking the line. Fair enough. Hi, Will. Dun, 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 dun. No worries, Ben. We're just getting started. Kieran Ball says the UK Motu Origins isn't worth collecting if you can get the UK version, US versions. Cardbacks are different. So are the comics. Yes. And I don't see a point to, like, you're getting essentially the same figure in most cases. I don't understand how the mind works in that situation. Now with film, okay, and music as well. I for that kind of media, I'm primarily Blu-ray and CD. Generally, I have some vinyl, but for the vinyl, it's got to be something I'm really into because they're display pieces for me. The vinyl are display pieces. The CDs and digitization of those, that's how I choose to listen, right? So with certain bands, I'm a completionist. I get everything they've ever done. Other bands, I'm like, I like this record, the other ones are shit. When I was younger, and I wasn't collecting anything but music, really. At least not as hardcore. I would need to get everything I possibly could. Um, and certainly when it comes to film, if they're films that are important, I like to have like various different versions of media, like VHS, Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, and so forth, and then combinations thereof. Like over the weekend, I got a lot. I got a huge lot of original Xbox games, Nintendo Wii games, and a bunch of VHS. And in that are a pristine combo pack with the big overall sleeve of the THS remastered Star Wars collection. I believe it is the widescreen presentation. It might be full screen. I do not remember. I have to look at them. But I had gotten rid of those years ago, and I felt like an idiot. I should have kept them just to be able to say I had them. But to have them in this lot that I paid a very fair price for, I was very happy. Very happy about that. But with anything else, that would qualify though as variants, right? So you're like, I have the movie. If once you have the movie, and Star Wars being a bad example because they've changed it so many times, it tends to be something that you should be able to say, I've got it, I'm good. But then they keep releasing better transfers of films, and there's special features in the whole thing. Music falls into the same trap where they're reissuing with extra tracks, different artwork, things like that. But I go for the most definitive version of it to me, right? Like, what do I need out of this? So in the case of like Napalm Death, my favorite band in the whole world, there are alternate versions of certain albums that have extra tracks from Japan or something like that. But they've released compilations since that fill in the gaps on those songs that were available. I don't need to go back and get, the other version of the album. I don't need it. I don't. Some people don't work that way. So you can kind of go in and out with this stuff. And I find it interesting. Marvel Legends, I'm definitely a cherry picker. I like what I like. I seldom order entire waves of things. But when I do, like, it's because I, genuinely want everything in there, or the odd figure out. I'm getting a package deal, because with Big Bad Toy Store, you tend to pay a little bit less if you order the whole wave at once. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. In my experience, you do. And there's only like one figure in one of the waves I've ordered that's on pre-order. I'm like, it's the whole thing. Epic Badger says, if he was a toy company, he'd be putting out reuse and color variants, and anything else people would be buying again. That's fair. It's something where I understand the business prospect of it and go for it. It's just not for me. Kieran Ball says, films are different. The UK version of the Avengers is called Avengers Assemble because our Avengers TV show in the 60s. I totally get that. Ian Sweetie says, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, but I base my collecting on populating a playset. So I guess your level of completion is based on what I feel I don't need any more figures or run out of space. It's the same thing with me in that the whole Bespin pursuit that we're undertaking, it's going to take most of the time to do this year. But it's something that I totally get. Daniel Dorian says, when I buy retro games of some sort, I prefer to buy each game separately as opposed to bundles, just so I know what I'm getting. I definitely understand that. But I will say that in my experience, okay, it tends to be, depending upon what you're trying to get, sometimes bundles are the best way to go. But if you're being really picky with what games you want, I agree with that. Especially in this day and age, too. The days of getting 30 games for $30 are long gone for the most part. When we're talking about the retro NES, Atari kind of stuff, it just doesn't happen. Ben Stutley just said, just bought the pre-remaster, pre-special edition Star Wars widescreen television on VHS. Hey, I'm there with you. They're in the trunk of my car right now. Yes. Yes, American films and TV shows can also be changed on DVD to music copyright. That bothers me. I agree, which is part of why I'm big on physical media to begin with. It's a preservation thing for me. I like knowing that I have always got stuff. Um, Master says completions. I once bagged a woman, her sister, and her mom. Wait, are we talking about a different completion? We are, but that's the kind of completions I can get behind. As long as consent was had across all, hats off to you, mate. Not a problem with that at all. Scooby Pete says, you do the same thing with the play sets. How many Hoth Rebels and Stormtroopers are too many? The answer is when the scenes feel just right. Exactly. I feel like in places where you're populating a play set or a display, for action specific purposes, I think you get enough and then you get a few extra, right? So in case you break something or you want to change the way the scene goes, I think that's the smart move in a case like that. But that's going to vary from person to person on what they feel is enough. And Ted says there's always a figure in a wave I don't want, which is how they get you, because if they price out the wave lower, they're forcing you to buy a undesirable figure in essence. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. And Dorian brings up a great point. Some people just don't understand the sentimental value of physical media. There's certainly sentimental value there. I think that there's also realism to be had. For example, there are films that go in and out of license on streaming so often. It's like, if I put something on my watch list a year ago and then I go to watch it and it's not there, my go-to is to just go and buy the damn thing on Blu-ray. So I'm like, I'm sick of this, right? And maybe that's a sickness. I don't know. But it's a whole thing for me where if I like something, I want to be able to watch it. I don't want anyone to have any control over that, except for me. Same goes for music. Same goes for, well, even toys. Like, I can watch retro blasting videos all day long about certain toy lines and certain analog toys and all things 80s and Sal with the 2 cents toys with the videos he does on individual figures. That would kind of give me that, ooh, I can look at it. It's great. But if YouTube ever went down or I don't have internet, I have nothing for that. So for me, it goes hand in hand, and that's exactly what we're talking about here, Johnny. Like, others get pulled from release, right holders change, parent publisher companies. It's insane. So, like, there's, like, today, for the very first time, I watched Mary Shelley's Frankenstein that was helmed by Kenneth Branagh in 1994. Never seen it all the way through before. I saw like a tiny piece of it years ago. And I treated myself. I had time this afternoon. I watched it. I really liked it. I was like, this is cool. I see what they were going for. I dig it. Turns out that Arrow is doing a 4K transfer that's coming out in like 2 months. I was like, well, this is perfect. And I pre-ordered it, and I'm going to be happy. It'll be a nice thing. I'll watch it maybe 6 more times in my lifetime, I would guess. And it's, but just to know that anytime I want to watch it, I can just whoop, whoop, and be good with it. And Jesse's like, heading out. Y'all behave or I'll be completing a list of names. Get it? Complete? Like today's topic? Bye. Bye, sir. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. And Ted brings up a great point. A lot of times you don't actually own a digital copy. It's true. You don't really own digital copies because they can always pull the rights on you, depending upon the platform. Granted, services like Movies Anywhere, it does help because they're doling out different services and stuff like that. It lessens that possibility. But when you have certain movies like on Lionsgate that only can be shown on, say, Vudu, for example, that's very exclusive, right? So if they just and they just yank that, it's kind of dumb. It's a whole it's a whole thing. Like digital is such a slippery slope. I love the convenience of it, but even when you own, you're leasing the license. You can't transfer those licenses when you die. They're very clear about that in terms of conditions. So, spoiler alert, in your will, when you die, don't close down any of your digital accounts and just have your children pose as you, allegedly. Yeah. But it certainly, when we get into that kind of stuff, it can get even messier for sure. Um, what'd you miss? Not a whole lot, Jason. We're talking about completionism in all forms of collecting, whether it be music, film, toys, anything. And we were just talking a bit about digital versus physical with film and so forth. But I'm gonna loop back around to toys here. And Bjorn says physical media is like comics, great to loom at on screen rather than have it in my hands. I agree. I read the original Secret Wars miniseries start to finish yesterday on my computer screen here. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. But I can't tell you how many times I'm going like, ugh. It's not the same for me as holding it in my hands. It's just not. So mental illness. I mean, yeah, a little bit. I mean, the fact is that if you do like something and you want everything of that, I mean, if you have the money, you're not hurting anybody, and you have the space, it's not hurting anybody, right? So it's not a thing. But there's a different kind of completionism. There are people that want everything of one character or property. Like Superman's a big one for that. And like I have like a ton of Spider-Man stuff, man. And Godzilla, of course, but I'm way worse with Spider-Man. Like I have a lot. And it's something that I see no issue with. I see something really cool of Spider-Man. I get it. That's it. Now, people have asked, are you going to do like this super display of all your Spider-Man stuff in one place? No, I don't want to do that for the simple fact that I like having a little bit of Spidey all throughout my space. You know, for me, it's like a little Spidey here, a little Spidey here, a little Spidey there. You know, I don't feel a need to compile all this stuff into one place. But I understand the folks that do, where they'll have like a whole wall of just various Superman stuff or various Motu stuff or what have you. So I think that it's not just I want to get everything from a specific merchandise line or toy line, or I want to get every single instance of a character or property or a logo. People that collect Coca-Cola stuff can be like that. It can really go all over the place with it. It's a interesting thing to consider for sure. Bum, 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 bum. Old Man of Cardboard says, I collected little plastic figures like Army Men for a while. Nice. There's no way you can collect every Army Men figure. True. So you find a set you like, you get it. Holy Grails abound. There you go. There you go. You know, I, I do think that on a long enough timeline, we're all unique people with unique experiences that can drastically change depending upon where you grew up, when you grew up, what the philosophies were for your parents, things like that. And I do think that a lot of the, the toy collectors that are of my age and around my age in that, mid 40s, 50s, late 30s, I think that comes built in with a desire to get stuff, right? Because first of all, we grew up in the 80s, which is certainly a decade of excess, right? Merchandising's out there. There were a lot of really great toy lines, movies, comics, all kinds of stuff. And very few people had everything, if any, right? And it's something that when you're old enough and you have the means, it makes perfect sense to me that you want to go back and get those things that you loved as a child. And I'm not here to criticize or justify any aspect of this. I simply want to explore it because someone who is like really into the Beatles might have just a shitload of Beatles memorabilia, toys, shirts, records, CDs, whatever. But that's all they collect. They're just a huge Beatles fan, and every other aspect of their life, of their decoration, of the media is, for lack of a better term, normal, right? But if I look at them, I'm like, that's way too much Beatles stuff. They're going to turn to me and like, you got way too much Spider-Man stuff and Motu stuff and superpower stuff. And, the list goes on. And there are people that collect toys, video games, but they don't collect film. They don't collect music at all. And look at me like I'm nuts, right? I really do think that there's so much variance possible that as long as you're pursuing these things in a healthy way, um, I don't think it's necessarily a problem. So, are any of you that are here in chat right now, do any of you collect a lot of a single figure or character? I know Gojitron's a big Godzilla fan, and has collected various incarnations of him over the years, but that's one example. But is there anyone who like fixates on one character or brand or idea? I'm curious. Stephen S. says, I do that with comics as if my favorite character as far as toys. I get vintage here and there. Modern Masters Universe Origins. There you go. It's certainly a thing. World Meta Carpet says, I only have my favorite Transformers 6-shot. I don't need any more. However, if I wanted to collect G.I. Joe, I have no favorite figure. I would want them all. There you go. With my G.I. Joe, it started off with Gung Ho in the Marine Corps Dress Blues, because that was the one figure that I wanted. I've already got a few more, thanks to certain people. Thank you, those people. Appreciate that. But I dare not dive in, right? I dare not dive in with that stuff. Jason Garcia says, Godzilla. There you go. Certainly a collectible thing. There's some good stuff coming out from Mezco this year. Check it out. It's relatively inexpensive, too. Kojitron says, Godzilla is the perfect Shogun Godzilla's perfect toy. Enough said, have the new Toonami version. Fair enough. I can't bring myself to get that. We've talked about this. I'm not a huge fan of that particular design. Bjorn says, I have a bunch of different Han Solo figures, but I wouldn't say I hunt down every version. That's fair. Scuba Pete has a weakness for Boba Fett. I get that for sure. Daniel Dorian loves collecting video game merchandise, vintage and modern, which is cool because there's some stuff that's just rare, like stuff that I like. Like if I want a Ninja Gaiden T-shirt, I have to get a bootleg. They didn't make them. Like I'm huge into that game, huge. But and I missed out by like 2 days on the Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3 vinyl set from Limited Run. Oh, would have loved those. Loved them. Okay, there you go. Besides Godzilla, Gojitron has multiple creatures from the Black Lagoon. There's a guy in a band called Mastodon. His name's Brent. And he has a staggering amount of creature from the Black Lagoon stuff. Staggering. And I gotta find the name. It's like Chronicles of the Workhorse, I think it's called. But it's a DVD that they put together, like with some live stuff and like documentary stuff, and they go through his whole collection. They show you. I'll try to find it on YouTube or something, so I can find the timestamp for you, so you can see it, because it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's pretty cool, man. Johnny Sorensen says they can never have too many Raphael Ninja Turtles, Batman, Optimus Prime, Pikachu. Fair enough. Fair enough. Mostly Star Wars for Ted Millich. Okay. Jason Garcia says, "Oh, I got every Mezco Godzilla, but that 401 is on pre-order." All right, all right, good for you. Ben Stutley says, "I have the first 3 Napalm and Carcass albums on vinyl, then repeats, and later on CD and later this digital Noisy Mystic collection." I get that. I get that. Like, I have holes in my Napalm Death CD collection, which I need to, like, I was going to start snapping them up, but I can't remember what I have and what I don't have because the bulk of it is still in storage. So until I get everything out, I can't easily fix that problem, which is a real pain. Just I don't like it, but I get how it goes for sure. Woman in a Carport now collects punch out, press out books. Okay. No way to get them all. Holy Grails abound. Major Matt Mason punch out books around 500. Whew, that's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. Let's see. Oh, okay. Now that Bjorn thinks of it, they want specifically every figure from the Looney Tunes Lego figure set. That's fair. Kieran Ball routinely buys multiples of the same action figure to get a mint in box and a mint loose version. Several Origin Stridar, Marvel Legends Moon Knight, and Marvel Select Immortal Hulk. I am very jealous that you already have your Stridar. I don't have mine yet. I really want a Moon Knight. I want those Moon Knight so bad. But I was too late to the game. But that's awesome that you have all that stuff taken care of, which is something I had considered when I started collecting again. And I thought, nah. But, I'm also the guy, though, when it comes to like things like cables and wiring and connectors and adapters, I always buy like 2 or 3 of them. So it's not a universal line for me to toe for sure. Yep. Applause made a lot of PVC Nintendo figures in the late 80s. And they used to be in like these bins that you would just pick out and buy stuff. Usually they'd be at the register and stuff like that. Oh, here you go. You've got about 80% of all the published novels set in the Dragonlance world and Forgotten Realms. And a girlfriend of mine from high school probably would have fell in love with you if she'd have seen that when we were that age. She would have like, oh my God. Ian. Like, she was into that stuff hardcore. So, hey, never let it be said that collections are not going to get you laid, because they absolutely can. It's totally possible. And Kieran says, for some unknown reason, I have multiple Desert Rat figures on pre-order. I don't blame you. Ben Sully says, I have 2 Les Pauls. Is that doubling up? No. Because musical instruments are different, I feel. Although there are certainly people that collect those as well. But when you have something that you like, whether it's a Les Paul, an Explorer, any of like the Dimebag stuff, like any of his guitar models, certain kinds of drums, cymbals, it makes perfect sense to have multiples, because things break. You might need a backup and a different tuning, things like that. But no, I don't think you're ever going to complete the collection of Les Pauls. That's for damn sure. For damn sure. But there's, as we're seeing in chat, there's so many different ways to look at different media. Like, we might all love Star Wars in here, but how we express that from a collection standpoint is totally different. I have all of the storybooks with the records that came out as they did. I had Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. I have my originals from childhood. Of all the things that I have in terms of like back then childhood stuff, that is one of the few things I still have. I still have my Marvel Comics Return of the Jedi trade paperback that was released in 83, 84. Still have that. Again, childhood originals. And even so, they have that record, the vinyl book thing. You can get that at Target, and they put it on a CD. So you have all the books in one big book, and you have like a CD that displays. I want that, because I miss that experience. and I don't want to mess with what I have. Although I am looking at getting a record player here sometime this year. I want to get a record player, and it would be fun to take out. I would do a stream of that for sure, where we have like the mic near the record player, or I have the record player feeding directly into sound, which I have the means to do. And I would just sit there and like show the book and everything. That'd be kind of fun. If you guys are into that, let me know. I'd like to do that. But like, I have those. I have some storybooks, but I don't feel like I have to go back and get everything from those. It's interesting. It's interesting to me. Bjorn apparently has a lot of Star Wars books, which is great. Sometimes the replicas are amazing. You know, especially there's some custom guitar houses in Japan that just do amazing custom work that are replicas of other things. It's very cool. And, you know, I totally get it. Ben Sutley says, not a show-off thing. It was just really practical when I was gigging regularly, dreaded string break during. Exactly. You have to. Whereas as a drummer, because there's so much stuff to carry, I was not the guy to have a backup snare drum. I should have been, but I wasn't. Luckily, I never had that problem. Thank goodness, because my snare was a fairly unique one. I had a 13 by 7-inch, 13-inch wide, 7-inch deep maple snare. Had a nice pop to it, and it's still in production as far as I know. And there's a part of me going, I should get another one of those while they're still around, so that if I ever need one, I have it. Because I'm worried that they'll stop making them. Because I've had that one for 2008, right? No, 2007. Would have been 2007. 2007, 2008, somewhere in there. Pretty sure it was 2000. My brain had to be 2008. So that would make it 14 years almost. Have I ever had more than one snare in my setups? No, never saw the need for it, because what I was doing, I wanted a very particular snare sound, and once I got it, which I did with that pork pie little squealer, what they call it, I was in love. I loved it, you know. And I think with action figures and toys, there's something similar with me there as well. I don't need every single Spider-Man Marvel Legends is put out, although I'm getting a bunch of them over time. Most of them being MCU related with different costume variants and so forth, which upon reflection, I'm not really sure I need that stuff. But they're great. I like them. But I do think they'll rotate out in the display. I don't think I'm just going to have all these Spider-Man lined up. I don't know yet. I don't know. I do not know. Like, I know, for example, that one of the MCU Spider-Men are going to have their back to the front of the display, like doing this, like, oh my god. Because my Carnage from Entertainment Earth, my last Entertainment Earth transaction ever, if I have anything to say about it, Carnage is coming in the mail very shortly. It should be here a couple days. And then I'll be able to pair him off with Venom, and they get to menace old Spidey-Man. And I figured I would use an MCU Spider-Man figure for that, so that I could use my retro one for the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends display, things like that. So in that sense, I see variables or having multiples or variants something of use, right? So what I'm trying to explore, and I want to ask you guys this, is there a reason that you collect a lot of one thing and not something else? Like, we understand we all do it. Well, we all do it. But is it just lack of interest? Or is it, I want that one? And once I have that, I'm super satisfied. But this other thing, I just want all of it. Like, it's like going to a restaurant, you only like one thing on the menu, but there's other restaurants you can order anything. You just like do this with your finger and be happy. Like, what about the human brain drives that? I don't get it. Is it a nostalgia thing? Is it a taste thing? Is it a space thing? Is it all those things? Each of you tell me how it works for you. Jason Garcia says that's what's great about Iron Man and Batman suits, basically just whatever suits the need of the mission. Yeah, definitely. But again, there's a lot of variance on both the Batman and Iron Man suits. If I was going after a complete set of Iron Man suits, I'd be screwed. I've got the classic red and gold. I got the 80th anniversary, thanks to Jim Largo. And I've also got the Silver Centurion, which I didn't even know existed, which also Jim Largo pointed out to me, so I was able to find that and get it. Those are the only two suits I really, really, really wanted. War Machine was a nice to have. Thankfully, I was able to get that again from Jim. But I don't need like all the different variants. The only other Iron Man suit that currently exists in the world that I would want to have on the shelf is the original, clunky Mark I from the comic. Like I would love to have one of those, just because I like that comic. And I certainly have a couple of the MCU ones, which is great. But if they said, okay, you've got to pare these Iron Men down, I would say that's what I want. I want 80th anniversary yellow and gold and red. I want the Silver Centurion. All right, I'm good. But I feel like with Batman, it's a little bit different. I only have 2 Batman figures. I have the Superpowers Collection Batman, and I have the the Batman Hush from, it's always on the tip of my damn tongue, not Mezco. Crap, why do I always forget the name of that damn company? Why do I do this? But I have that one. And those are probably the only 2 I'm going to have. Outside of, like I'm probably going to get some Dark Knight collection stuff. Mafex, thank you so much, Jason Garcia. Thank you. I don't know why that is so. I'm just put a post-it note over here that says Mafex on it. Crazy. There's some Dark Knight collection stuff that I'm looking at, like playsets, some vehicles, and a lot of the lots have figures coming with them, and there's a couple I'm interested in, but none I'm like actively seeking out per se. But if I happen to have those and keep them, like, okay, fine, but it's not a mad need. I'm a huge Batman fan. I don't have any great, big, huge desire to get a Mego Batman, even though I had one as a kid. I love that figure. It's not a high priority. Even though I have a Mego Spider-Man, thanks to Jim Salzberg, which is one of my most prized pieces, bar none. But I would put Batman on a similar scale to Spider-Man. Like in the pantheon, you've got Spider-Man, Godzilla, Batman's right there. He's right there. But I don't have like that thing in my gut that says, "Ooh, fucking get all the Batman." I have a Batman mug that I love, but I have an attachment to it because it came out around the time of the Batman '89 film, which was a huge influence on me and music and everything else. Plus, my sister got it for me. So this is my 3rd one of that. It's an Applause coffee mug. I've broken 2 of them. I'm on my 3rd. And I will probably continue. Like, it's one of those things that every time I find one at a good price, I think I'm going to start buying them up. So that when I break them, I'll just be like, oh, But beyond that, I don't have that compulsion with Batman. And I probably should, if you look at it on paper, right? But I don't, and I don't understand it. It's kind of weird to me. It's kind of nuts. Kind of nuts. And I see some guitar talk. Keith Knight says, never had a backup basic gigs. Main was a P bass, precision bass, Fender 11. Now in 6 basses, including 3 Fenders, go-to for doodling, cheap Yamaha bass. Yamahas are great. Stephen S. says, I got every original Bronze Age, Copper Age appearance of Spider-Woman, Jessica Drew. You want that Marvel Select figure. Fair enough. It's great costume, great character. For sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Bjorn Organ says, whenever a property that has little to no merchandise, I try to get as much of it as I can. Like Boy Meets World. There you go. So you're going after the obscure stuff because you just want to snap up everything that you like. That's fair. And if there's limited stuff available, that can fuel the chase to a certain degree, which is not a bad thing at all. Not a bad thing at all whatsoever. Jason Garcia says, that's the only good thing about McFarlane with the DC license, despite the figure's flaws. He's giving many versions of Batman. Just wish he would do a decent Wonder Woman. There you go. And I feel like when it comes to the 6-inch scale DC stuff, I know that there was a whole Superpowers collection redux a couple years ago. And I can almost guarantee you that had I been in collecting at the time, I would have been in like Flynn on those. I have not at all looked into getting them. But it is something that I would consider. But from what I can see, and maybe I'm totally off base here, it feels like they're just a little too expensive for my taste. Again, maybe I'm wrong. I haven't looked into it, but it is something I'm considering, right? Because it's like I'm not going to get Series 3, but why don't I get 6-inch versions of these figures too? Because I've got Superman and Batman from Mafex, and those are great versions of those figures, right? Like essential, like great. So there's this little thing in the back of my head that says, why don't you get the Superpowers collection reimagined stuff in the 6-inch? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? I'm thinking about it. It's a whole thing. Because on one hand, I'm not so married to the 6-inch scale, but I have so many of them that I want to kind of backpedal and get as much 6-inch scale stuff as possible, right? Like I would absolutely flip my lid if I could get my hands on one of these Playmates Godzillas, one of the preferably just the classic one, or the Legendary Films one, but in a scale that scales to 6-inch figures. So he'd have to be 15 feet tall or something like that. It's not practical, but I kind of want it all the same. Like, that to me is sickness. Like, it would be the best. Just pop the tail off and put him in the corner. And you'd be like, yo, check out Godzilla. Or get one of the 3 3/4 inch scale. So Superman would be like, yo, wow. I don't know. I don't know. Old Man of Cardboard says, I would collect the reaction figures and the retro collections of 5 POA figures, but they are too expensive for my taste. I agree. In fact, right before we came on the show, I had watched Retro Blasting's video on the 3 3/4 inch scale Marvel figures that have the Kenner logo on them, which is baffling. If they scaled to Superpowers, I would probably be snatching them up instead of Marvel Legends. If they scaled to Superpowers, which they don't, they're too short. Screw them. I will probably get a Spider-Man, and that's it. I'll probably get a Spider-Man because it's Spider-Man. And that's as close as I would get with that. But it's not about supporting the line, it's about supporting that particular character. It's weird. It's really weird to think about. Because there's these two lines that both make sense to me, right? But I don't see any reason to get both. So I had to make a decision, and I looked into it. Like, do these scale with Superpowers? Nope. I'll get the Legend stuff because the Legend stuff is more accessible and more fun to me. Plus, there's lack of playsets, lack of vehicles, this and that, Although I've got some diorama stuff to use with certain things. Like I have some stuff coming up very soon. I am really stoked to be using. Daniel Dorian is asking if anyone's went down any new rabbit holes recently. I kind of have always threatened to start getting back into VHS collecting. And so this lot that I was talking about earlier in the show, we took an Uber to a friend's house. We were just going to watch a movie, have a few drinks, and I don't like taking the chance on driving after even one drink. So I was like, screw it, it's not that far, we'll take an Uber. That Uber driver who drove us there, we got to talking about all kinds of stuff. And he just randomly brings up, he's got this huge collection of VHS, DVDs, original Xbox games, and the Wii games, and he's trying to get rid of them. And I told him I'd try to broker the deal for him. And then just over the weekend, he's like, hey, I got to get rid of this stuff. You don't even have to pay me right now. I'm just $50. I don't care. I just can't bear the thought of throwing it away. I know you'll appreciate it. And he swings by. And when I saw those VHS tapes, I was like, okay, this is happening. And there's a few things in the lot that are really good. Like you've got the Star Wars, obviously. But there's a few other things that kind of stand out. There's like a really great version of Mary Poppins on VHS. There's a version of Fox and the Hound, which I really like. It's the exact same version that I had when it came out, but my copy's pretty beat up. This is in pristine conditions. I was like, oh, so cool. There's a few other things. Like there's like an oddity. There's like a copy of True Lies, which is a widescreen presentation on VHS, which is like, what? And it's True Lies. I was like, that, and the box art just a little bit different. I'm like, that's cool. And I don't need any of these. I have these films in one format or another. But it's just like, And I have been wanting to do, obscure horror films on VHS. And I keep going up to the edge of the cliff and backing away. Well, the edge of the cliff and back away. But it's something I'm really serious about. Because there's one of the things I'm promising myself as a gift when we, get into a bigger place is to get a nice big 4K TV. And the one that I'm looking at has analog inputs. So you can plug a VCR into it or an old console. And by all accounts, it scales perfectly. I'm like, you mean to tell me I'm going to get to watch VHS upscaled to 4K? So it's something I'm like, ooh, definitely something. Daniel Dorian considered getting the Toy Biz Batcave, but then all I want to get all the figures and vehicles. Like, nah. Here's the thing with that, Daniel. If you already have Superpowers figures, for example, which I do, it scales. So I am actively looking at that. I'm actively looking at one of the many different Wayne Manor places that are out there. I haven't decided which one I'm prioritizing. I definitely want those, but I do not want to get the whole line. I agree with you there. But I'm looking at all that stuff because it's really cool. Ian Sweeney says, I have a big interest in Power of the Force 2 Star Wars. Well-made, proper toys, and they have a visual place between vintage and photoreal. So much more than the Erky Hulkamania. Yeah, absolutely. The vehicles in particular are really, really, really good. And that's probably where I'm going to fill most of my vehicle needs for this Bespin thing that I'm doing. I keep leaning on the newest Millennium Falcon that came out, the Target one, or the one that also went at Disney itself. It's pretty cool. Jason Garcia is starting to fall down the Transformers 86 Dinobot rabbit hole. Yep. But just those. Any Transformers I buy go to my brother. But specifically, you just want the new releases. Fair enough. I'm happy with the Transformers core. I don't even want all of them, just the classic figures as they come out. I really like those, and I wish they'd put more thought into that line, those smaller guys. Like, I really like those. But I understand where you're coming from, because the movie that whole studio series movie accurate versions of those toys, like I want them, but I'm not paying those prices. No effing way, man. And especially in a world where there's no way for me to get a Unicron. Had that Unicron not been a Hasbro Pulse freaking thing, right? If they hadn't gone crowdfund with it, I could just get it on the shelf. I would have gotten one, and I would be totally justified in getting the rest of the figures. But I can't, so I won't. End of it. You want a copy of History of Violence? It is the last mass-produced VHS. That's correct. Last mass-produced one by the studio system. There have been VHSs released since, but those are really niche things. So yeah, that would be a good way to do it. I also know a guy that has a Falcon for sale. Are you going for like the multiple Shogun Warriors? I've seen those, and I was like, I don't like the gorilla head. I can't get over that for whatever reason. Karen Ball says, Action Man 1990s become your new obsession. Only picking up certain figures like the James Bond version, Robot Dog, and the villains such as No Face Professor Gangrene. It's cool, and it's nice. I love collecting when you have specific focuses. You know, when if I'm starting out with something, I just tend to like, give me it. But I really love that that chase of a certain item. It's a lot of fun, and I'll never downplay that. Oh yeah. I'm talking about the 86, 87 G1 Transformers, the movie. My favorite movie of all time. In fact, I own that on 2 different versions of the VHS, 2 versions of the DVD, 3 versions of the Blu-ray. I've got multiple posters and the soundtrack in every format it's ever been released in. So yes, it is the Transformers animated film G1. Absolutely, fuck Michael Bay in the face with a soldering iron. Jason Garcia says, get the Cell Studio Unicron cheaper and screen accurate, tad smaller. Oh, that's the knockoff one, right? It's the knockoff one, I believe. And people keep telling me that. Like Jody has told me that, a couple other people, and it's a hard sell for me because again, if I get that, I will feel like I want to get more Transformers, and I don't know that that's going to be healthy for me. But I appreciate the lookout all the same. Power Force 2 be your starting point getting the Kenner vehicles you missed out on. I think everything Star Wars goes up with value too. Sooner you get, less you pay. Yeah, and they're pretty good, pretty reasonably priced right now. Even boxed, the Power Force 2 line's pretty good, which is part of why I lean into that. Third party, but yeah, okay, I got you. Whoop. Studio Cell unlicensed superior quality. Yeah, I've heard such a thing. Oh, you're going to have a local showing of the animated G.I. Joe film? That's pretty awesome. I love that movie so much. So much. Hey, Ozzy says, hi, I've been trying to find a copy of my favorite movie, Trick or Treat, from 86 on VHS. But everywhere you look is $50 and up. I can't justify that, spent that much on a German Blu-ray of it. Fair enough. You got the touch. No, you have the touch, sir. You have the touch. You can drive to Austin to go to Toy Dojo and get one in person. Dude. Why are you going to tempt me like that? Why? Why are you going to do that? Because I would. In the face with a soldering iron. Ah! Absolutely. You got to see the 86 movie with your brother with the voice actors Grimlock Perceptor a few years back. Nice. I saw it in the theater when it came out. And then I didn't see it again in the theater until late last year, which was cool, but it wasn't quite right. It wasn't quite right. They didn't have the sound mix calibrated properly. It wasn't quite as powerful as it should have been, but it was fun. I had a great time. I had a great time. It was very good. It was very good. Little Kansas convention there for you. Do they call it Comic Con with a K because Kansas? They do that? Do they do that? They should. They really should. Really should. You got the power. That's right. That's right. But as I often do during the show, I look over at my see-through toy bin that has Muppets stuff, and it's got Marvel Legends stuff in it, and it's got some Motu, my Savage World stuff, and the prototype 3D print of the phone booth and stuff. And it's such a weird smattering of things. Yet a lot of what's in there, like the Muppet stuff, is almost a complete set of the current line from Diamond Select. I'm only waiting on one other set, and it's pre-ordered. I'm just waiting for it to come. So it's like that's complete. I'm like, it's really weird. And with the Star Wars stuff, I'm so sporadic on it right now because I'm really scared to dive in. I really am. But I feel like once I kind of, it's like a roller coaster. Like I'm starting to go up. Darth Vader, Boba Fett, Lando Calrissian. But I feel like when I get like the Han, Leia, and Luke, then I'll be like, because then I can start just getting troop builders. Well, I would need like C-3PO and R2-D2 as well. Is this just me, or is freaking vintage collection R2-D2 impossible to find? It's crazy, right? I can't find him. He's not a good price anyway. Let me know if you know where to get him. First vinyl you ever bought in the Transformers movie soundtrack. That's a great keep. Jason Garcia said, everyone heckled the screen except when things got serious, like when Optimus dies. No, it's called TFCon. Gotcha. And they hold it every year. Try to get guests, but now that in Texas, hard to fit. You are in Texas, aren't you? Me too. The original vinyl cover is white, so it has the movie poster, but the background's white. So like none of the, so you just take the whole background of the original movie poster and just make it white. And it's got some really cheesy like CBS Records text on it. I have the same thing. I didn't have it at first. I have it now. Vintage 1G1 Transformers figures would hold up so much better had Takara not made them so fragile. You're not wrong, Daniel. You're not wrong. You're going to send me an R2-D2? Well, shit. I guess I found one. Thank you, man. It's very thoughtful. You don't have to do that. Let me know where you got it. Your first CD was Color Me Bad? My first CD was the Black Album from Metallica, so there are still people in metal that would judge me on that. And I'm like, screw you, like man, like Metallica's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Wasn't trying to upstage you. I promise. I just wanted to save you a lot of typing. Is it half the battle breaking G1 Transformers, Johnny, or is it half the fun? Because some people would be like, "Oh yeah," you know. I don't know why, but it's a whole thing. It is an entire mood, as they say. So we've been live a little bit over an hour, and I want to just bust into, as we always do, some Q&A. I don't want to go too long, but I definitely want to give you guys a chance to just kind of interact, as we always do here. It could be about the subject matter, about me, about anything you want. So I want you to go ahead and feel free to do that. Bjorn says, I got a couple of RT2s. They scale perfect with Bespin and Luke Aria. Perfect. That's awesome, man. It's awesome. First VHS for World Minute Cardboard was Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. No guilty pleasure. It's a great movie. It's fun. I love that thing. First VHS that I ever owned myself. I'm trying to think. Because we as a family got a lot, right? We had a lot. But as far as like for me, um, that's tough. I'm trying to think what I would classify as my first VHS. Um, hmm. I have to think about that. I'm not really sure because I know that it was like in the late '80s when they started getting me my own because it was always like these are for the family and stuff. Even though I'd be the one to watch them, the most. Um, shit, what was it? Probably might be like Wayne's World to be honest with you, because we all the ones I really wanted, my dad and I shared like a love for certain films, and we would just get them right. Like all the Terminator films, Aliens, stuff like that. And I would eventually go on to buy my own copies of those as I was getting work as a teenager and stuff. Um, First CD was Countdown to Extinction, and then the first seven was Paul McCartney Frog Chorus. Okay, all right. First CD, No Rest for the Wicked by Ozzy. First two, you bought Hell with the Devil by Striper. Striper! Big Hits and Nasty Cuts by Twisted Sister. Okay, all right. I can't I really can't think of it. It had to have been a Christmas present. Had to have been. Had to have been. Um, but I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like Ozzy, I just don't remember. Whoop. Yeah, Ben and I are in the same boat here. I honestly don't know. It's interesting to think about though, for sure, because it's just a weird like with VHS. Unlike other things, it's a weird crossover because at that time it was such a shared experience for the most part. I didn't have my own VCR until like my sophomore year in high school. I think maybe. No, junior year it was junior because my senior year they got me a bigger TV. So I had this 13-inch Randix TV that I had for years, and they got me a VHS player in my junior year of high school, and then for graduation they got me a TV, which was really cool. It was 20-inch, which for me, the way I sat was huge. It's kind of cool. World Made of Cardboard says, now that he is 50 years old, you really have to think about what I want to buy. Lost too much desire for huge collections, had to sell it off after you lost your job in 2000. So for you, it's very much I do want a bunch of stuff, but let's be honest, I'm getting to an age where I don't need to have a lot of stuff. So you're very particular and you pick it out to what's very special. And I think that's a smart move. I really do. I really think it's smart. Daniel Dorian's first CD was Appetite for Destruction. There you go. Awesome. From Columbia House Mob Family. There you go. I didn't get in on the Columbia House thing until like I was in high school. And I still have the CDs that I bought from them, to be honest. You want a complete set of 1999 Star Wars Lego sets, so like all the prequel stuff from Phantom Menace. Cool. First vinyl was 82, Shakin' Stevens EP with Blue Christmas, no longer have it. Yes, you're good with it. Fair. First tapes for Johnny was Symptoms album 89, 1990 TMNT soundtrack. I had that. Bootleg MC Hammer. First CD as an adult bought Led Zeppelin 1 and 2, Dark Side of the Moon from Pink Floyd, and Bowie double CD, best 70s, 80s. Nice. Crap. Jim Largo says, I'm putting you on the spot. Marvel Select Immortal Heart came in today at BBTS. Do you want to review it for the channel? Have to open it and play with it. No kid gloves. Well, it's Marvel Select, so I feel a little bit less. Yeah, I'll review it. If you send it here, I'll review it. Yeah, I will. It's a Hulk figure. How can I say no? Yes. Thank you for thinking of me, though. Woohoo! I'm glad I figured it out. Kieran Ball says, first VHS ever watched was Halloween 2. First VHS owned was original Amityville Horror. Nice. Ozzy remembers his father buying blank VHS and stealing one or two from a six-pack he'd buy record metal TV shows. I had to buy my own. Still have episodes of Headbangers Ball, Much Loud. Yeah, I have of 2 or 3 VHS tapes still in my possession somewhere, of several episodes of Headbangers Ball, and some are just music videos where I would just sit there and get it all done. It's pretty cool. Unlike certain other selects, it moves. That's right. Marvel Select. I like that line. I do. Like, for example, the Mezco Spider-Man that Jim sent as a gift months ago, which still blows my mind. He was like, hey, Marvel Selects Green Goblin goes with him, and he's only like $20. I pre-ordered him. I'm still waiting on it to arrive. But that's going to be a great little, hey, look at me. I'm Spider-Man. I'm Green Goblin. Like, I'm very cool with it. It's quite cool. Your wife's first CD was the Bangles' first album LP, Grease, 45 Run, Joey Run. So my first vinyl ever was a 45 single of the Great American Hero theme, and on the B side was Hill Street Blues. I love those to death. And then in terms of music anyway, I also I had other stuff. Like I was really heavy into this series called Little Thinker. And this series continues today. Like, I would probably want to track down the Little Thinker tapes because I loved those as a kid. And it's what inspired me to start drawing seriously. Love those. My first music cassette was Tears for Fears Songs from the Big Chair, and I still have it. It's a heavy figure, and it's really big. Well, we'll have to be careful I don't drop it on my foot. Dana Dorian says, first VHS copies I ever watched is Peter Pan Sword in the Sun. Nice. Nice. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not my actual Spider-Man impression. You know, that would be different, you know. But that's just my general, like, oh, look at me, voice. But thank you. It's true. You know,
it's kind of like, you know, other people. Hey, guys.
Like, I just have certain voices I use in certain situations. So anywhere where it's like a silly thing, I'm like, It's like somewhere between Kermit the Frog and George Lucas. Kind of thinking, I just view it's like poetry, it rhymes. It's the whole thing. Roman Carpet says, my wife screamed out in joy when you said Greatest American Hero. Believe it or not, it's just me. I love that song. Love that show to death. I should get that on DVD. Ben Sully says, for Q&A, I have a few 80s collections but would like to complete my Kenner Star Wars. Might have to choose another collection to move on to which one first. Well, I guess that depends, Ben. Like, are we looking to stick completely vintage? Are you looking for something that you can complete? Give me some more to work with. Give me some options here. Like, give me like 4 or 5 options. I'll tell you what I think would be what would be the wisest direction to go into based upon availability, price, things like that. Because I always say, start with what you're most passionate with, and if there's things that are of equal passion, start with whatever is the most expensive now. Because they're only going to get more expensive and then go down the line. That's typically my advice. People ask. Mr. Jim Salzberg, sir. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Sound like Patrick Holmes. Sorry. She's singing Greatest American Hero. It's good. I believe in myself. Fact, Lucas and Kermit both total Muppets. And they both have that little frog thing going. It's not wrong. All right, so Mask, G.I. Joe, Zoid, Starcom. Okay, of those, they're all on the higher end of expensive for the most part. Mask being probably the least expensive, but also most readily available at the prices that are somewhat reasonable. because of that recent find. I think the longer we go on with Mask, it's going to blow the hell up, right? 'Cause there's a current like rush for that stuff, right? GI Joe is going to be expensive. It's going to stay expensive. I would start to pick and choose those as you can. Best resource I can give you there is Reclaimers Vintage Toys. Join his Patreon, because you'll be able to get first crack at a lot of really great Joe stuff. Zoids, those are rough. Starcom, notoriously expensive, and hard to find complete. So that's a long term for sure. GI Joe and Starcom are super long term. Zoids is somewhat long term. Mask, you can more or less get started right away and start amassing things without it being insane. There's certain ones if you keep an eye open, you can even get boxed stuff pretty good. So that's where I would go with that. I would essentially decide on your favorite GI Joe characters, try to find them, right, and be on the lookout for certain deals. Zoids, just keep an eye open for the right stuff and prices. Starcom, it's going to be a question of getting the right thing with deals. It's going to take time, but as far as something you can dive into right away, and there's a lot of stuff available, I would say Mask for sure. For sure. Miko did do a Greatest American Hero line, James. I never got him. I wanted him, but I never got him. Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Leave a message at the beep. Zoids are pretty cool. I never had them, but I always thought they were cool. Oh, nice. Yeah, Zoid's a pretty long running toy line for sure. Yeah, being able to find them definitely makes Mask the way to go because you can get them. Greatest Melvor, first of all, welcome. Great to see you. We need to talk. Greatest American Hero, Fall Guy, Dukes of Hazzard, best theme songs ever. I would add to that Knight Rider. I gotta go with Knight Rider as well. Like, come on, like that's metal. It's great. Was Boulder Hill the only playset in Mask? They had others designed, as far as I know, but that's the only one that came out to my recollection. I'm no expert on it. It's a line that I really like, that I would love to get, but it's just like I got too much I'm focusing on already, and I was like, Now, granted, I might get a gigantic raise. I doubt it. But if I were to get like a much bigger than anticipated raise, who knows? Who knows? What would you have to sell? You have to sell anything? I hope not, Ben. Oh, the Zoids. Okay. There you go. If you want Joe's, get him a list. He's got stuff. Plenty of it. For sure. A few 90s lines are already going up. Yeah. I think that we're unfortunately we're just shifting. As people get older, the interest shifts, and then the prices never go down. Karen Ball just been watching the entire run of Perry Mason on TV. Why do I mention this? Because the actor from Greatest American Hero is the real life son of the actress who played Delta Street. Correct. Good trivia. Good trivia. Oh, have to choose one to sell to complete Kenner would ideally complete all of them. That's rough, dude. Robotics. Dun, 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 robotics. I like those. I didn't have them as a kid. Wanted them. Loved the song. Might have had a couple of them. I have to look at them. Masterson says, I have all the Mask, all G.I. Joe 82 to 87, almost all G1 Transformers, decent Starcom collection, all practical Centurions, among others. That's pretty freaking cool. That is a substantial collection, sir. And I'm going to try to keep myself from drooling. Jim Salzberg says, got Condor and Bone Collector today. Yes. Action Force. It's time for action. Let's go. Dino Saucers had a good... Yeah, I liked it. The thing is, like, it was such a rare thing for me to see it because of the way syndication worked. I liked it. I just wasn't super into it. Bump, 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 bump. Ian Street says Knight Rider's a theme tune rather than a song. That's fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. From Mask, the Rhino is technically also a command center. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Melbourne says, good luck getting a Naboo Starfighter for cheap now. Right? Right? Toy Polloy Dave did do a great mask restoration. Yeah, he's been kind of like in there. Jim Salzberg asks, am I a Turtles guy? Yes, I was a massive Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan as a kid. I was really into the early Playmates toy line, collected them well into high school, and then sold a lot of them off for drum stuff. I've been keeping my eye on certain versions of the toys that are out now. I am absolutely mortified to get into collecting them. But yeah, I'm a big mark for Ninja Turtles, dude. I've just been very hesitant to get into it. Love the characters, especially the comic book version. Joe to Becky, how you doing, sir? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I knew that would make Melvor happy. The Lord of Things Very Nice collection. I'm also jealous. Yeah, the Dinosaur stuff is nuts. If you haven't checked it out, go over to Goji-chan's channel. He shows a new toy line that is kind of like an homage to Dinosaurs, although not Dinosaurs. It's not the same, but it's pretty cool. You should check it out. It's a good video, too. Master Son says, well, my bank account doesn't think it's too amazing of a collection. I get it. Oh, because of my shirt. He says, would a bolt thrower playset just be Army Men and Warhammer 40k figurines? Yeah, probably. Honestly, yeah, probably. Jason Garcia has a great point. Beware, if the next HasLab is a new Naboo Starfighter, because that just means they're going to get blown up. Yep. So, HasLab Naboo Mando fighter before he gets blown up on the TV show? Pretty much. Pretty much. Dan Orion says the Mirage TMNT incarnation is the best version, hand down. I agree. I have some of the original trade paperbacks of the comic books, like the collections of them. So there was like 4 of them by First Publishing. It might have been 5 or 6, but I got the first 4. I still have them. Yeah, Turtles were neutered over there because Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I hate that. It's horrible, and that's also why combat cold cuts in the movies. Horrible. Last call for questions. We'll start to get wrapped up here. But I want to thank everyone for being here. This was a fun conversation to have. I knew you guys would come proper. It was fun. Appreciate it. Should not neglect to mention that on Thursday, I'll be doing a live role-playing session with Nerd Rage. It's about the show Red Dwarf. But he's writing characters. We're going to do a scenario, the whole thing. And I will be acting in Red Dwarf, so to speak. So I'm very, very stoked on that. I'll be posting it on the community tab here on YouTube and on all social media, so I'll make sure you guys can get to it if you want to. So it should be a lot of fun. So he's doing all the work for me. All I have to do is show up and act like a member of the Jupiter Mining Corporation. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. I'm a gigantic dwarf fan. Gigantic. Love that show. To death. I own the whole thing. Everything they've ever done. And it's something that I'm just really into. Red Dwarf, yeah! Melvor says, why am I so awesome? I'll answer the way Jay would probably answer. Fuck Jim! I don't think I am. Honestly. I just try to... I try to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I try to give people content, friendships, whatever, again, that I would want. So I'm a reflection of those I associate with, like yourself. Like, you're pretty fucking awesome, Melvor. Oh, Smeg, indeed, matey. You had the Ninja Turtle musician figures? Yeah. It's pretty cool. Coming out of their shells, I had that on cassette. I did. I loved it. Who will I be? Cat. It was hinted that I would be an alternate character that got put in stasis instead of Lister. That was his first idea. I don't know yet. I have no idea yet. Jamie put the link on his page. Good. Yeah, Keith, I think it is going to be fun. It's going to be a bit later, though. So, like, I usually start these around 6 p.m. Eastern. He's doing his at, like, 8:30 Eastern. So, but because it's role-playing and so forth, and what it's going to be, it might be just as much fun to watch after the fact. So, I highly encourage everyone to go check it out, for sure. Definitely. Kieran Ball says, awesome live stream as always. Great friends of the chat. Take care. No. You take care, sir. Thank you so much. Ben also says, great stream. Thanks. Great. Sorry about that. Yeah. Red Dwarf. There you go. Last question I'm taking, and I'm out. Jim Largo asks, did I get around to it? No. But I will be getting around to it. Very, 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 very soon. Lots of things have been afoot lately, as well, you know. But I will get there, I promise. Promise. What is Red Dwarf? Might have to do a stream on that soon. The short version is that it's a British sci-fi series from the 80s that still sporadically gets done. Dry humor, great stuff. One of my favorites. Check it out. World Made of Cardboard's wife thinks I would make a great Holly. Emergency. There's an emergency going on. It's still going on. With Dave listed, please report to White Quarter 339. Yeah, I could do that. I own the entire series, everything they've ever done. I watch them a lot. So, yes. It was such a smeghead. My favorite joke is one of the first jokes in the entire series. Is that a cigarette you're smoking, Lister? No, it's chicken. I will leave you with that, folks. Thank you so much for your time and your patience and your support. It means everything. I love you guys very, very much. We'll see you very soon on a video or a stream. Which comes first? I don't know. Not sure. We'll see. I love you guys. I'm out of here. Good night.